What's up, loaders? It's the Power Ranger Master. Shark Mom's here, and I don't want to keep this intro long, but I'm going to be doing a deck profile today on a deck that I took to a 5-0 finish at Locals, Super Quantals. A deck that even after 5-0ing and having some hard matchups, I played against, Tri-Brigades, and I played against Dragon Mage, which was actually a hard matchup for the deck, even though I think that deck's kind of a tier 3-ish deck. Played a couple other, tier 1 or tier 2 meta decks and was able to win. I still don't think that this deck is in that strong of a position, but I did win with it, so it's clearly able to win and just proves more so that this format is actually healthy and there's a wide variety of decks you can play, and as long as you make good decisions and good lines, that you can take events. But without further ado, here's the deck.
Shark Moms, XIXIX.
For main deck monsters, 3 Alphen, go figure, 3 white, 3 red, 3 green, and 3 blue. I think this is pretty typical. Some people will play randomly 2 greens, but green is actually one of the better ones, and you have some random plays with some extra deck cards. Like the only weird flex extra cards we play are rank 4s, so I think playing at 3 is optimal. For other random monsters that aren't the Super Quant monsters, I play 2 Protos. This card is absolutely bonkers and sometimes just wins games. Super Quantal, whatever, the big boy, is unaffected by card effects, so you can call Light and he won't be destroyed, but then it locks Dry Trowns out of Light. You can also call Dark because he's unaffected by, and a lot of decks, once they can't summon Darks, they can't play. You also consistently can call like Fire against Prank Kids and Fire against Tri-Brigades, and shuts off a lot of their plays. Then I play a small performance engine. It's not really even an engine, they just all kind of do their own different things that are good. But you can sending either this one or this one off of the field spell effect nets you cards, so this gives you an extra summon, and this gives you access to this, which gives you an extra summon and also extra discard fodder. So it's better than the shell package. I recently cut shell. I don't play shell anymore, volcanic shell. I just found these are more flexible and accessible and do different things. Then I play, I'll say 4 hand traps, but 2 Ash and 2 Imperm. And the reason I cut down, I used to play 3 Ash and 2 Imperm, and I cut down to 2 Ash because I wanted to add Reasoning back into the deck, because Reasoning is one of my favorite cards in the deck. One thing about this deck is like nobody knows how to play against it because nobody plays this deck. And so when you activate Reasoning, even after they've already been playing you, a lot of times players will call the wrong levels. So I think Reasoning is really good. And because it's really good, I wanted to cut down to 2 Ash because I don't want to summon Ash off of Reasoning. Everything else in the deck is a good hit except for that. That's it for traps altogether as I play the 2 Imperms. So then for spells, 3 of the field spell, because this is how you do all of your plays. You don't have to make Great Magnus. Sometimes you can win just making the other layer XYZs and stuff. They're all really good. So getting easy access to them is good. The reason I wanted to play this deck and pick it back up is E-Tele is at 2 now. So getting out blue layer, which is arguably the best card in your deck, consistently is super broken and super good. So 2 E-Teles. Then I also play 2 triple tactics talents, because if they interrupt you, you want to get more cards. Every card in this deck that can net you hand advantage is good because you get more discard outlets for the field spell. I then play some Spice with 2 XYZ imports. I think this card is great. It adds materials to Magnus. It also adds materials just to the small layers and eats them. It came up really clutch because I played against Burning Abyss round 3, and XYZ import took his graph without sending it to the graveyard. So that's pretty strong. Play 2 Pot of Desires. Usually after you resolve an Alphen, you have access to all the Super Quants you need for the game. Plus, you don't really need all 4 at all times to pop off anyway, so if you draw Desires and rip it, it's just the best card advantage card for the deck. Then for my one-ofs, I play Reasoning. As I said earlier, I think this card's really good in the deck. 1 for 1 because it summons Alphen. Foolish Burial because it adds Alphen because you send White Layer and get Alphen. There's also other weird plays. I had Monster Reborn I had Monster Reborn and Foolish Burial one hand, and got to go Foolish Burial, Blue Layer, Monster Reborn, Blue Layer at Alpha. And I don't know, it was good. And then one Terraforming to search the field spell as well. There's literally nothing I would change about the main deck. I think it's super good and super like consistent and refined. But for extra deck, for links, I played one of the New Year's Super Quantal. I never went into it. I don't think I would ever go into it, but I might not cut it because I don't know what I would add to make this deck better. Like a lot of the stuff you do is very like you don't want to use the extra cards, but there's times where I guess your hand is so nutty that going into this for advantage is good. And also, I guess sometimes you would go into it if they out Great Magnus and then you summon the 3 back and they pass back to you. Going into him could be fine, but that never happened and never came up. But I guess it could. Then for another link, I play one Nightmare Phoenix. Sometimes you just want to get the cards off the field and get their graveyard effects, and that's just the best one I found. Then I play 2 whites, 2 reds, 2 greens, and 1 blue. I might want to play another blue, but honestly, it's the one that comes up the least, and usually the one of it or whatever is you don't need more than one of it because it's just interacting with spells and traps, which is the least important thing to interact with right now. But it is the best because it helps you go into Zeus consistently, and I do play Zeus, so I don't know. It has its perks, but I'm not 100%. I'm not sure I would play 2 of this if I had 2 of it. And then I play the 1 Great Magnus. A lot of people play 2 of this card. I don't think you need 2. 1 is just fine. You can shuffle it back in with blue. I don't know. It's never come up that I wanted 2, and it let me have more deck spots for like random other mix-ups and different things to just play 1 of it. Then I play 2 Zeus. This is a broken rarity of Zeus. It's invisible rare. I don't know if you guys have seen that rarity before, but no, I had to borrow the second Zeus and then I had to give it back. So, but definitely will be picking up 1 from the 10. Got to play 2 Zeus. It's just too important with how this deck plays. I summoned 2 Zeuses, I think 4 times last night. In 5 rounds, I summoned both the Zeuses, and those were the game, and all those games I won. So Zeus is almost as important to the deck as Great Magnus. And then as just random other cards, I play 1 Dugaris, 1 Downer to go over the blue layer, and 1 number 27. This could come up, and never did. I made it, and then it was bounced back to hand. I knew that was going to happen, but I knew it would guarantee the bait out of their negate. Dugaris could come in super good hands to make extensions, especially with the performance cards. But this never resolved, but I went into it once. I've never gone into this. But they're all fine. I made Downer a few times, but obviously, Downer's just in there for Zeus, so it's not too important, but all those were good. Then for side deck, which was really important, because I only won 3 die rolls, and winning the die roll with this deck is pretty important. Like, it's like, I think you could easily go 5-0 with this deck all the time if you could guarantee winning the die roll, but you can't. So both times I lost the die roll, I lost 1 game going first, like I won game 2 and 3, and then both times I lost the die roll, I lost those games and had to fight back. This deck made me earn wins, which wasn't too fun, but sometimes it can be. But for side deck, play 3 Gamciel to interact with all the monsters relevant right now for negating effects that just shut this deck down. So the Dragoons and the Heralds of the world, and it was relevant against the Dragon Maid, Counter Trap, and whatever. I mean, this comes in a lot, especially going second. You just want to get rid of their threats off the board. The only thing is, I do wish this was the wind one, and I keep meaning to switch it, but then I keep forgetting because a couple people at our local still play the wind barrier statue in Tri-Brigade, so don't want to deal with that. Cosmic Cyclone, you have to play it right now because who knows if your opponent's going to be playing Mystic Mine or not, and so you have to have it at the ready all the time. Also good against Imperial Order because Imperial Order wrecks this deck, and any spell and whatever. So really important to side deck this card. I sided in a few times. I sided against Burning Abyss because they were just playing a trap heavy version of Burning Abyss, and so I saw it a couple times, but it's kind of just a necessity that you have to side right now. Then I play 3 one-ofs for spells. Mystic Mine, Raigeki, Harpies, Feather Duster. This should just be 3 Mystic Mines, but I didn't have them. One thing about Mystic Mine in this deck, I know it's toxic, so I know this is where all the dislikes are coming in. One thing about Mystic Mine in this deck is if they can't out it, you can discard blue at end phase for cleanup or whatever, and then trigger blue's effect to shuffle itself back into deck, and so you can't deck. So if your opponent has 33 cards in their deck and you have 12, eventually you will win by deck out with Mystic Mine, which is one of the things, like, you don't have to worry about cards in deck. Should I resolve Mystic Mine? That doesn't exist in this deck. As long as you have access to blue still in your deck, you can activate Mystic Mine. But that being said, these cards both came in clutch in 2 different games. So I don't know. I liked Reiki and Harpy's Feather Duster, but I would probably cut them. Like, obviously, it probably should just be 2 Lightning Storms, right? But I didn't have access to those. I didn't think I would ever play that card in this deck, and I think it's good for this. And then for traps, I side 3 Solemn Judgments. I almost always put this in when I go first. I think I always did. I think if I was siding for first, I put this in every single match last night. It's just so good and like handles everything. It's such a good trap that can play it. And then my baby card that I'll never cut and I will always side forever. Evenly matched. Love this card. Won me 2 duels last night. It is an unfair card. A lot of people are not playing it anymore for different reasons or whatever, but I still love it. So until, and it probably will never be banned. So until it's banned, I'll probably keep citing this card because it's such a cheese wins. Wins you don't deserve. Overall, I think this deck performs well enough in this scenario, and I think I've played it since it came out in different ways. I even tried to play it in the old Master Rule. So, like, when it was almost unplayable, I tried to play it. I think it incentivizes having deck knowledge and play testing it a lot and knowing this stuff, because there's really easy ways to misplay with it, and knowing what cards to get off Alpha and pre-deciding what you can do based upon the random hits you get off Alpha is really important. But all said and done, I think it's good, and I was happy with his performance. But if you guys like this deck profile and want to see more deck profiles, I think this is the first one I've ever done on this channel. We've done plenty of deck profiles in the past on different channels, but if you do like this content, make sure to like and comment and all that stuff so that we can know to keep doing them. I'd like to thank Dragonfly Toys and Games. That's our local shop here in Sumter. I'd also like to shout out Team X3, my co-members Matthew Martin, Jacob Sprinkles, and Tony Petty, the team that brought it all together that got me playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitively and having fun. And I'd like to shout out all of you for watching. Thanks, and I hope you guys have a great day.